Hi guys, so today we're going to talk about NaNoWriMo, or better known as National Novel Writing Month, which is taking place this coming November. NaNoWriMo is something that takes place every November, and the goal is to write a novel, or 50,000 words, in a month. It is challenging to do because you have to set aside time. There's actually a whole entire website where you can go in, you can log what you've written, you can log everyday goals, you can log what you've worked on, where you've put it. The biggest issue for NaNoWriMo that I have found from a lot of writers, myself included, is what am I going to write? And then once you decide what you're going to write, then you have to decide, well, am I going to plot this? Now, some of us are plotters, some of us are pantsers, and then there are those of us that are in the middle. We like to refer to ourselves as plantsters. We have a rough outline, we kind of know where the story's going to go, but at the end of the day, the story kind of has a mind of its own. My favorite meme is the saying that my characters just do what they do, and I write up the action report afterwards because they all have a mind of their own. This year for Nano, I'm actually going to be doing a retelling. And I decided to do this when I came to the conclusion. I had several options on the table. I had two sequels for two separate novels that I've already written. One is actually coming out here in November. Super excited. It's a Regency romance. And I couldn't decide if I wanted to write one of the sequels for NaNoWriMo or if I wanted to try to do something different, something new. And the problem with the one sequel, it's for a dystopian novel, and the book one came in at 72,000 words, and so I didn't think that 50,000 was going to be enough to tell story number two, since story number one was already so long. As for the second sequel, while working on the second book in my Regency romance series seemed like a lot of fun, this retelling really kind of just nudged its way in, and honestly it nudged its way in because one night I was laying in bed and I was just thinking about, everyone's done, there are all kinds of different retellings for different characters, and I've always been real fascinated with Robin Hood. Prince of Thieves, Don't Hate, is one of my favorite movies, and every time it's on Netflix, I definitely do watch it at least 3 or 4 times. Love Morgan Freeman, favorite character, just saying. And so my biggest thing is what if, and crazy idea, what if Maid Marian was actually Robin Hood? Now hear me out. So it's this big love story between Robin Hood and Maid Marian, and he rescues her from the Sheriff of Nottingham. But what if Maid Marian rescued herself? And now I'm going to use visual aids because I am a visual person. So when I plot, and you're gonna laugh because this is gonna look familiar. This is how they taught us how to plot in school, and it's the way my brain works. I just see it and it works better that way. So I always start in the middle with a title or a general idea of what it's gonna be about. So this is, and don't mind my awful handwriting. My husband always gives me a hard time for that. So we start off with, and yes, I have children, so this makes this easy, your middle, Robin Hood retelling, right? Then, I always like to put the POV. Since this is something that is going to be explaining Maid Marian and how she's Maid Marian and Robin Hood at the same time, it's going to be in first-person POV because it's going to be from Marian's POV. Now, that's one thing you have to decide. How are you going to do this? Are you going to do it in first person POV, third person POV? I always do past tense because past always seems to just flow better. Then you have to decide if you're going to, what you want to happen. There's always a conclusion to a story, and I tend to like to do the conclusion first because the conclusion, that way I know where I'm going to go when I'm doing the story. So what I like to do is I like to plot out certain scenes that could be happening here in the story. So you're going to have, how did she end up where in the Sherwood Forest in the first place? How did she end up with the Merry Men? Well, you have to figure out plotting too. So you always come out and lots of different writers, different books always have, you have your opening, your middle, and your end. And that's basically your story arc. So then you also going to have to make sure that you have your goal. You want to make sure you reach your 50K word goal when you start. And then I just like to put in the details of what's going to happen. So of course she's going to have to meet her merry men, and she's going to have to, we're going to have Friar Tuck, and we're also going to have the Sheriff of Nottingham. And so obviously he is our villain. And you want to figure out what the motivations are going to be for what they're doing. And so basically this is kind of what I get going. And obviously once I actually start plotting out the story, it's way more extensive. There's like a million bubbles all over the place. And occasionally I'll even go ahead into my notebooks, and yes, before everybody says anything, I actually do write in my notebooks. I find it super weird that people like buy these really nice notebooks and then just leave them on their bookshelf and don't write in them. Like, what is the point of that? Where are you putting your ideas if you're not putting them in the notebook? And then if you're not putting them in the notebook, why are you buying them? But I digress. Anyway, so basically what you want to try to figure out is how to get all of this stuff, everything into, and some people organize with sticky notes and have a whole wall of sticky notes where they just put scene after scene after scene. I'm not a scene plotter. That's not how I work. I like to have a general idea. I like to know how I want to start. And funny enough, for this particular novel, I actually already have a blurb written. That never happens because that's the worst part of writing this, is trying to figure out what to put on the back of the book. How that happened, I do not know. But then you have to decide what your goals are going to be. So for Nano, there are 30 days in November, and you kind of have to figure out how many words a day you want to get to actually reach your goal of 50,000. I believe the first year I did it, I wrote somewhere around 3,000 words a day, and then I had to write more if I missed, because obviously weekends happen, you want to spend time with family. Thanksgiving happens to be right in that time frame too. So you kind of run into where NaNoWriMo is great, but you have to realize that if you don't make writing all 30 days, but you hit the 50,000, it's fine. And if you don't make the 50,000, it's okay. You started something. And that's the thing too. You have to start somewhere. I completed NaNoWriMo the first year, didn't make it the second year. Every year is going to be different. You just have to figure out what you're going to do. Beyond that, for this video, that's all I can think of. That's it for now, but look forward to here in another couple of days, and I will have something else for you.